norms and stereotypes to making sure that the butts are wet. Boy, girl, mom and dad want grown-up time, you're going mad. It's a trip, but we'll guide you through with tips and tricks for boys and girls too.
Podcast.
Podcast.
Well done. Hi.
Welcome to episode 8.
Episode 9.
Oh.
We are on episode 9.
It's
Good
early.
morning.
I am sleepy. Episode 9. It was actually just a test to see if you're paying attention
Today's
or not.
episode is about counting.
No,
it's not.
No.
But it should be.
Actually, today's episode is called If Mom is Busy, Who's Watching the Kids?
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel kind of bad.
What a title.
I feel kind of bad that this is the episode leading up to Father's Day. But to be fair, Nick came up with this title, and it was before we even had an episode around it.
Nobody was thinking about that until you just said it. So now it's weird.
Just keeping it real over here.
Uh-huh.
Before we get into the episode, though, I kind of wanted to give an update on a couple things. I feel like in episode 8, maybe that's why I said it, because I was thinking about episode 8.
Mm-hmm.
I forgot to give a little updates and stuff, so I was going to give those today. First of all, on the boundaries episode, I forgot another S. And the S's.
Didn't you add an S?
I did. We had 7 S's instead of 5 of the boundaries we put in place whenever we had newborns. And I meant to add in, it could be share an S really, but we said no sexy pictures, and that's what the word, just to follow the S category that we used, with what we said to say don't take and post naked photos of our children. But also something that we do is we don't post sad photos either, sad moments, temper tantrums, things like that.
Because they're never sad.
Because that's their own personal time. And if I had people taking photos of me when I was sad, it is cute. It is cute sometimes when they cry, because they're just so cute in general. But temper tantrums and crying and being sad over I wouldn't let them eat sand or whatever. That's a funny story. You can text your friend or your mom. But I just wouldn't put those moments on the internet forever.
We prefer not to.
We prefer not to. So just a little update on that one. So no sexy or sad photos is how we would say it. Mm-hmm. And then also, I was chatting with a couple of you over traveling with kids, and you asked how they nap and how to get them to nap better and stuff in travel. And I feel like I've done you a disservice to say that our twins nap and sleep amazingly on trips. I would say that that's not true. Again, I probably am not talking about that just because I'm trying to focus on, it's probably, I stayed up late the night before trying to coax them to sleep in the hotel room type of thing. And I'm not going to post that on social media because I'm trying to get over it myself. But also, I don't know, again, a private moment, sometimes I can't fall asleep. So I just wouldn't discuss it actively, but our babies do nap differently / not as well on trips.
We're also not as strict with their schedule when we're on trips. We try, but we're not.
Yeah. My whole point in saying this is that you're not alone.
Yeah.
And then also, I made a comment on Instagram stories on the boygirlmom.com Instagram handle, and I was like, oh, here's a great hack if you don't want to get 2 rooms for whenever you're traveling with kids, just get a balcony. And a couple of you DM'd me and were like, they sleep on the balcony.
In their defense,
no,
it did sound
totally
like that's what you were saying.
But no, they don't sleep on the balcony. They sleep in our room, and then we kind of we don't have slumber pods because we would just have to get 2 slumber pods. I don't know. We have covers that go over their travel cribs, and we use that, and we turn off the lights. But if you get a balcony,
there's a lot of parent hiding that goes on.
Yeah, but if you get a balcony, you can leave the room and not be out of their space.
You're doing it again. It sounds like it again.
No, they are asleep.
You go to the balcony
Correct.
as the parent.
Correct.
And hang out.
Yeah.
While they're falling asleep. And then it's safer to go back into the room when they've already fallen asleep.
Yeah, and you get a moment. It's you're going out, but you're not leaving your
We're
kids
not putting the kids alone on the balcony. That's the headline.
In a hotel room, alone on the balcony. No.
Yeah.
So sorry about that. They do not sleep on the balcony.
Yeah.
Oh. Anyway, now that we've done with that, you want to get into today's tiff that actually Nick decided what the tiff was. I was like, dude, it probably looks bad that I'm the one doing the tiffs and feels like maybe I'm just airing dirty laundry to be on air, but it's not the case.
It's my time to shine.
But it's Nick's turn to talk about the tiff. So there you go, sir. Passing the baton to you.
So I'll preface a little bit, okay, to equal out the criticism and the positivity. So the preface is, I love that you, just like me, cook, that you love to use the kitchen, right? You do amazing things in there. We have friends all the time tell us that you should open up like a bakery or something, right? You make amazing stuff. So in no way is this a knock on you and your cooking abilities. But the counters do not get clean after you finish cooking. And this also spills over into your morning and evening routines in the bathroom counter. I'm curious, honestly, if you even think, oh, I'm done with everything, I gotta wipe the counter. Does that thought cross your mind?
Is it my turn to speak, or
Yeah, that was a question to
okay,
you.
so I just get to answer the question. I don't get to defend myself.
Not yet. I'm
okay.
gonna finish, and then you can defend yourself.
Yes, with the bathroom counter specifically, like the faucet leaks. So I'm like, why am I gonna clean up something that's just gonna pool out again overnight?
The drain has a problem, but the faucet does not.
No, remember the faucet sometimes leaks right around it, and it's not me. And you thought it was me for the longest time, but the faucet leaks around there.
Yes, but it doesn't cover our entire counter.
Sure. So it's my turn to
finish
talk?
cleaning.
So with the kitchen, I understand what you're saying, and it's not. People are gonna think I'm weird, like just over here wiping diapers on the counter.
No, don't. I'm not bringing that up. Why did you bring that up?
You go
I'm
back
saying
into
you
a
finish
previous
cleaning.
episode.
You finish cooking. You finish cleaning. You clean all the pots. You put all the dishes away. You're great at that. The counters are dirty. Do you think I'm gonna wipe the counters?
No, sometimes I do, but it's not like I don't wipe the counters daily. It's more like at night if I do it. But like sometimes if I'm like in the middle of cooking something, I'm trying to get it to the twins and like there's still stuff out, and maybe the most I can do at that time is just I only got to cleaning the pan. And so like I haven't been able to clean up everything, but I do clean up like.
But you do, like I just said, you do clean up everything. You
Not
do
all,
clean up
but
everything.
sometimes it's the only thing I can get to, and like I have to go take care of them at that point because they've reached their capacity of being like eating or being alone or whatever. I don't know. I think maybe you're also just talking about like physically like spraying them and cleaning them versus just like putting stuff on the counter.
So this might
you put stuff on the counter and leave it there. You've gotten better about it, but you'll like, oh look, here's this clean Tupperware, and I'll just leave it on the counter, and then like have to move it up.
So let's make sure our expectations are aligned here. How often do you think that we should be cleaning the kitchen counters?
Well, at the very minimum, like daily.
Okay. I think we should be cleaning them after every single time we use the kitchen.
Okay, but even you don't do that.
Yes, I do.
Well, maybe not immediately. I guess what it sounds
When
like to
I'm
me, you're
cleaning the
asking me to
kitchen,
do it immediately.
my very last step after I like clean out the sink is I wipe the counters. And I wait till I'm done with the sink, done with putting all the dishes in the dishwasher, so no extra drips of water get on the counter. I wipe it down, then I spray, then I wipe again.
Sometimes I just can't get to that when I'm in the middle of something. Because a lot of times I'm making the meal and trying to feed the twins, and I can't get to that right then. And all I was able to do was clean the pot.
Okay, so I'll give you a little insight into why it's frustrating to me. I think that we should be able to always put anything on the kitchen counter and not worry about the bottom of it getting dirty. Always. And that includes clothes, that includes papers, mail, whatever else we might want to put there.
Yeah.
So if we're putting egg spoons or noodle spoons or whatever without the spoon rest on the counter, and then also not cleaning the counter, or we're making mac and cheese for the twins, which again, I love that you're doing, and we're putting it on the counter, and then there's dried cheese spots on the counter. There's no safe area in our little kitchen for me to use. So you don't like when I leave a pot in the sink or a plate out and not put in the dishwasher, right? I'm telling you, I would rather have a stack of dirty dishes waiting for me to put away from you than have dirty
I know you
counters.
would, because you like whenever you're making breakfast in the morning, you will put a pile of things next to the fridge and not put it in the fridge, whereas I would just put it straight into the fridge.
I collect in a group, so I put it all away all at once.
Yeah, but then sometimes I'm the one who puts that away because you just leave it there.
I feel like you're throwing swords in defense here, and that's not the point. This is
I think
my
you're
tiff.
talking a little bit too.
I need you to defend yourself and your tiff, and I'm trying to get you to understand my expectations. I think it was a bit enlightening when you said once a day. I think that's a lot less.
I just don't. I'm not always. You're not with the twins most of the day, and so that's like whenever I'm feeding them. Oh, you just call me Baby Bear on air.
That is my nickname for Lauren. Welcome to the family.
Well, no, it's just like whenever I'm making lunch and making dinner, I'm not always able to do that, and so
then leave the whole kitchen dirty.
No,
if you're going to make a concession, I need counters to still be done. That's my preference.
Wow.
And look, you've put baby clothes on the counter on the kitchen and been frustrated that stuff gets on them. This isn't about me. If I left water puddles on top of the bathroom counter and you went in there to start doing your routine, you would be frustrated with me. You have been before about shaving my beard hairs and them being on the counter. I'm telling you that we both actually kind of have the same expectation here, but I need you to do it.
Yeah, I also think something that annoys Nick about me is that, like he said, I'll put a spoon on the counter, and it's because, here's the thing, it's my same thing.
There's a whole other tip.
I don't want to use a spoon rest because then I'll have to clean the spoon rest. And
Absolutely not.
It's the same reason why I'm like, I don't want to use the blender. I would rather use a stick blender because then I have to clean a blender if I do that. But also what annoys Nick about me is that I would sometimes just rather use a paper towel instead of a plate. And so I will
But let's clarify. With like basically everything up to soup. Like anything
No!
I said
soup
before soup,
okay.
everything up to soup. If it drips, if it's greasy, it doesn't matter. Sticky bananas. The paper towel fibers stick to the banana.
So here's the thing, guys. I have this dream to make what's called a paper towel plate. And I have a jingle that I made for it already, and I'll sing it to you. But imagine you're camping and let's just like reduced waste, you know. It's a paper plate, but it's actually made out of a paper towel. But it's like, you remember those washcloths whenever you had when you were younger, and it was this tiny square, and then it was a like a picture, and you just, or like had something printed on it. Like I had a Tigger one from Winnie the Pooh, and you put it under the water, and it just like opens all up. So that's what it is. Imagine it's a hard like plate, and then at the end of you eating, you wet it, and then you can use it as a paper towel. It's a paper towel plate. But here's the jingle I wrote.
This is going to be in the world now.
Paper towel plate, life is great with the paper towel plate. That's all I've got.
Propaganda.
Anyway, I think we spent too much time on this too.
I do. I think that our editors maybe can take a piece of it, and then we can have an extra clip or something that's funny about us arguing about it. But if I could wrap up, in the spirit of all of us getting better, please take the extra 5 seconds to wipe the counter. And here's another little nugget hint. If you don't put the mac and cheese spoon on the counter is so much easier to wipe.
That's true. You don't even need to wipe it. No,
I will every day, twice a day, I'll clean all the spoon rests for you, and you never have to touch them. How's that concession?
Okay.
Use the spoon rests.
This is a new thing, not something you had done, right? Because this morning I did see black beans on the spoon rest, and I was like, eek.
Oh, then that was an accident. I usually clean them.
Okay. Anyway, all right, moving on.
Thanks for letting me have a tiff.
You're welcome. I don't know if you get another one. You kind of went over your time limit, but just kidding. I love you.
Aware of the time limit?
Yeah, anyway. All right. Now to today, if mom is busy, who is watching the kids?
Yeah.
We're going to talk about gender roles and parenting, or society-based gender roles. And I kind of wanted to start this out with a quote that I heard. It was in a book. I think it was in the book, The Collapse of Parenting. It was chapter 9. I'll link the book in the show notes. But it said, and I have the survey as well that I'll put in the show notes. Survey says men have more fun parenting. For example, they toss the ball with the child, but mom tosses the diaper, meaning the mom is changing the diaper in most cases. They get to go to the dance with the daughter, but the mom is the one who irons the dress for the dance. But this has changed and is changing, and there's still a gap, meaning that dads end up playing more with kids and moms end up bathing, feeding, brushing teeth, etc. Another thing that it said is that men don't multitask for the most part, and so when they're there, they might be on their phone, but like they're typically like present and playing. They're not trying to get work done as well. And that women with kids are likely to always feel rushed, whereas men don't feel rushed when they're with them. And then another thing that it kind of compared it to is Tiger Mom, which I'll link the book that came from. But it's Tiger Mom versus Irish Setter Dad. So Tiger Mom was like strict, you have to do this, like basically the not fun parent or the police parent. I forget what that's called. And then the Irish parent. Yeah, but there's a word I can't think of. And then an Irish Setter Dad is think of like a dog and like happy, have fun. I actually saw that TikTok you sent me that was like a black cat girlfriend versus the golden retriever boyfriend, which is similar but not the same because this is parenting. Mm-hmm. But I want you to just comment on that, Nick, on everything I just said on that. Like, the survey says men have more fun parenting, and what your take is on that.
I'll clarify that what you just read are quotes from the book and not necessarily your opinion.
Yes.
Which you kind of said that.
I'll say my opinion, but...
Well, sure. I'm just saying what you just read was from the book.
Yes.
You can talk about whether you agree or disagree. I mean, I understand how we can fall into patterns where this kind of stuff is valid and happens. I think it's something to fight against, but I mean, most of the parents we know, I don't know that are this way. I don't think I'm this way, right? So like, I think there's stuff that you take on that you enjoy taking on and feel like you have to think about earlier. Also, like, you're the type of person that's thinking about a birthday gift a full year in advance, and I'm not. It's not that I'm not considerate, it's that you think way ahead. So like, I think that bridges over into our parenting, where you think about things like their birthday party themes and clothes they need and stuff before I do, and you also take action pretty quickly. So I remember this being an argument we got into earlier, and sometimes it still spills in, but like sometimes that makes you feel like I'm not trying or not doing those things, when the truth is I just haven't done them yet. So your expectation of me doing them as quickly and as early as you do, I don't think is reasonable. But I understand how it could make you feel like, oh, I'm having to do everything as the mom, because like, here's the last 15 things that I had to do. That's an expression you like to use. I had to do it. When you kind of had to do it months in advance, and it didn't have to be done that early in most cases. Like the toss ball or toss diaper one, like, I feel like we're fairly equal in that one.
That was just an example. Like,
no, I know, and that's why I clarified that this is from the book and not from your mind. You asked me to respond. Dad goes to the dance, mom irons the dress for the dance. I mean, sure, but I would also help to prepare for things when you and Cypress are going to go to a dance, you know? So I think I understand how historically this may have been the consistent case, especially with like one working parent typically being the father and the person taking care of the house is typically the mother. Like, I think a lot of those things are kind of blended with us specifically and with a lot of families our age. So I don't know. Yeah,
I think the bulk of it here, though, is that a lot of like the mental load, like, I don't know that the dad, I'm not generalizing here, and and also this isn't a good example because I don't like to iron, but like, I don't know, you would think, oh, like, oh, I need to prep the dress and like iron it. Not because you don't care, but just because like, it's just different, and like the mental load is different.
I agree, but for Cypress, I would think like, can I tie his bow tie? Like, do we need to iron his shirt? So I don't think it's an I don't care and it's a lack of effort thing. It's like, I don't know what needs to happen to prepare a dress for a dance. I know what needs to happen for the other, you know.
Yeah.
Not say I can't learn. That's not the point. The point is like, you're right. I wouldn't think of that, but it's not because I don't care and don't want to help.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like like I said, this doesn't really apply 100% to us. I just thought it was interesting. But I've just read so many like scenarios, real life scenarios where, you know, the other person, usually the dad, is not being helpful or not being willing, and the default parent has to do it all. And default meaning the person who's typically with them, the children the most. And we kind of talked about this in episode 3 of like do it in the morning or night with like specific roles. But I can kind of understand this because I do feel like, if I had to say, I do feel like you probably have more fun with them, but I don't think it's because I'm not allowed to. I kind of liken it to, in the Bible, there's this story about Jesus and Martha and Mary. It's in Luke if you're interested, but Mary just goes and sits at Jesus' feet and like learns, whereas Martha's like, oh, I have to do this and I have to clean the kitchen and blah, blah, blah. And it's like kind of like a martyrdom, and like you don't have to do that, and your kids, like, I mean, it's good to have like a clean house, but like they are not going to remember if you swept the floor, you know? So like allow yourself to have that time, and some of it is like the mothers or whoever putting the weight on themselves. So to say that, I also think it's just how the female brain sometimes works. I really do probably would say, generally speaking, that I would agree with it. I know I'm just going roundabout circumlocution over here. But I would probably say men probably do have more fun parenting because they think less about it and just do.
I think I struggle with the premise of like more fun parenting because I think it suggests that our goal as fathers is just to play. And I understand how it may feel that way, but like that may just be a reflection of me not having as much anxiety while I'm with them
Yeah.
as you do.
Right,
You know,
right.
like
How
that-
my brain works. That's
yeah,
what I
but
was
that
saying.
like that in my mind is a different thing from like I'm not considering what needs to be done or I'm not trying to be helpful. You know?
Which, yeah, no, I understand. Which, and the next thing I was going to say is that,
But sorry, like to stay on that, that is, I feel like what moms will latch on to. It's like, oh, dad gets to have the fun. Because he's not thinking about all these other things and is not burdened with the weight of them. Like, I understand that objectively, but I think that's not fair to put on every father. Like, that could be the case, yes. But taking the sole piece of evidence that they're having fun, the father is having fun with their kids and is able to not be distracted by the other things, that doesn't inherently mean he's not a helpful father.
no, and I'm not saying that. I think
know you're
that
not.
this
I'm
quote
saying-
isn't saying it either. It was more so just like the happiness of parents they surveyed, and more men were happy with it and had fun than women.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I misunderstood that. Yeah, I think that might be fairly true. I don't want to generalize all men, but like I feel that way. Like I feel I am generally this way though. Like
Yeah.
less burdened by anxiety and by things that need to get done. I'm very much a procrastinator. And I like to do what I'm doing while I'm doing it, not really think about much else. Not because I can't handle it, just like when I'm hanging out with them, I'd like to be with them.
Well, what I'm saying is, like, I feel like most men are wired that way, and
Sure.
most women are wired like how I think. And
Sure.
so, like, again, sometimes it can be like, I'm aware of this. You know, I have to be like consciously make an effort. Like, I do have fun, but I do think you probably have more fun. You know, but it's not like I'm not resentful or
I
anything
just
like that.
the struggle I have with that is like I see you have a ton of fun with them, so like I understand what's being described here, that maybe it's easier for me to keep my head more clear while I'm with them, but it's hard for me to agree that I have more fun with them. I just don't see that part I don't agree with. The rest of it I understand.
Yeah, but I think as a general statement, can you see it? Not like take yourself out of it. Could you understand or no?
I don't know. Partially. Like
You don't
it's-
have to. I was
yeah.
just curious because I do probably more align with it. I
Sure.
could make a generalization. But what I was going to say, and I know this is why it was kind of hard for us to answer, is like I genuinely feel like you are an anomaly in this. And so like I don't think about like default parent and things like that. Like you are a great partner. And I've said that before, but I really do mean it. And so like a lot of these things I don't necessarily feel with you. We'll get into a couple of things that like have caused issues with us, but you know that's why you thought of this, is because like you thought of this title whenever like I was out with, I think it was the day I was having like a tea party with friends, like out at the house, and it's just like, oh, who's watching the kids, because Lauren's gone, who's watching the kids?
First of all, I appreciate the compliment you gave me. It's very sweet. I do think, I said this earlier, I do think a lot of people we know, a lot of parents we know, a lot of parents in our generation are moving away from this type of criticism, specifically the fathers. And I don't want to all just put it on them. Like I think the mothers are allowing more space for grace as well, and communicating a little bit more than they maybe did in the past. But the title is not super unique. Like it comes from if mom's out and people ask mom like, oh, like where are Cypress and Olive? And they know that the dad's around. It's like the inclination there, or the assumption there is like, oh, mom should be taking care of the kids. If mom's out, what are they doing?
Well, and also to flip it on its head, if the dad's out, people aren't asking him who is taking care of the kids.
Right.
It's the same thing of like, there was like pictures, I don't know if they were memes, but like pictures that like went viral like maybe a year or so ago that was like, oh, the mom brings home fast food. They don't care. The dad brings home fast food. It's, they're the fun dad, like that type of thing. And I think it's just, there's a double standard there.
Yeah. And to clarify, like, I think there's a few reasons for this, but excuse me. I think this has maybe happened to us a few times. Like, I don't think this happens to us very frequently at all, especially not with our friends. Like, and I humbly want to say this. Like, I do think you and I split childcare pretty well when we have individual things we want to do, or events that only one of us want to go to, or like something we're both interested in, but it's not worth the ticket price to two of us, maybe just one of us, including the babysitting price. So one will go, the one that's more interested. So I think we've, like, said another way, I would hope that our friends don't think to ask those questions because they know that we frequently trade hanging out
Yeah,
with the kids.
and if they
you
do,
know?
it's a genuine question, like
like
they
of
actually
interest.
care, not like
a
not
question
like,
of interest
oh,
because they know us
exactly.
and know the kids
Exactly.
and would spend time with the kids. Not a question of like, oh, what are you doing kind of thing, which I think it hasn't happened to us a ton. But that's the reason for the title. It's like, it kind of leans into the default parent piece. It's like, who is expected by society and by most people to do these things, and what pressures come along with that.
Yeah. So whenever I asked you kind of what you wanted to talk about this episode, because I felt like this was more in your wheelhouse, it was your idea. You said that you felt like the perception of like fatherhood or parenting needed to change from the outside in. We kind of just talked about it, like the from the outside in, where the kids, if the mom's busy, and then you said from the inside out, of just like, what do you think like your role is, and like you're not above, and again, you don't have this issue, but like you're not above changing diapers or whatnot.
Yeah. I mean, we kind of said it with the childcare piece. Like, I think if you are working towards equally sharing the burden of childcare, and I don't mean to say burden as in it's a negative thing. It's just, it's hard. Even though it's fun to be with them, it's hard. If you're sharing that burden with your partner, the people you're close to should come to expect that you're equal partners and that you're equally hanging out with the kids and you're equally doing your own things. We've encouraged you guys, as we do, to go find the things you want to do and like keep the pieces of your life that you enjoy intact and keep going to do those things even after the kids arrive. You have to support each other in childcare when you do that. So, you know, I kind of already said this, but like if you're working to equally share that burden, it should be apparent. Like it shouldn't be obvious that Nick's out a lot more and Lauren's at home with the kids a lot more, or vice versa, right? Not to say you have to be like perfectly equal, but like sharing the interests and sharing the preferences is super important there.
Yeah, and that kind of goes, like you said this whenever we were chatting about this outline. You're like, if you're the working parent, so meaning you're not the one typically with the kids and you're out like earning money like outside of the house, that's just at work, and that when you're home, the effort should be matched or exceeded when you're not working. You're like 9 to 5.
Yeah, I mean, there's like to talk about the nuclear family, or we kind of referenced earlier. Like, I do think there's more, for a lot of different reasons, economic reasons and many other reasons. There's a lot more families that both parents work that have young kids right now. So I think that's a piece of why this is not so common. But it is, you know, there are still plenty of families that have one primary breadwinner. I really don't like that term, but like one primary income earner, whatever. Whether it's the mother or the father. And, you know, there's nothing inherently wrong with that at all, right? Like we kind of have that relationship where, I mean, somehow you still work more hours than I do, but like, we decided not to have full-time childcare or do full-time daycare or something, out of your preference. And you wanted to do it on your own, which has come with a lot of challenges, but I think been a huge blessing as well. But that's the point is like, I have more of a traditional job that has like during the childcare hours, I have to be for the most part heads down, working in meetings, like can't really be with the kids as much as you're able to with your flexibility and working for yourself. So our agreement, if we're going to not do full-time childcare, was for you to carry more of that childcare burden during the business day. And I think the unspoken piece of that is that there was an expectation that when I am not working or able to shift my time around for work, I'm helping, right? So I think like, again, the one person that has more of a traditional or structured job that impacts their ability to care for the children, nothing wrong with that. But if you're in that situation, it's my opinion that if you're that person, you should put in the effort to either match or exceed your partner's effort when you're not working.
Because a lot of people, I mean, I know Nick doesn't like the term default parent, but a lot of, at least the scenarios I've read, you know, like in groups and like in person from people is like, you know, the work, we'll just say traditional working parent sometimes doesn't want to put forth the effort even on the weekends. And that's like hard because as a mom, or if you're a stay-at-home dad, like you don't get a traditional break. Like manual labor jobs like have required breaks, like that you just don't really get. And the thing that's kind of tricky with this is like a lot of the scenarios where I've read that like usually a father won't help, it's because they said they need their sleep for work. And like it's a little bit tricky to respond to that when they are doing like a roofer or a trucker or something. I'm thinking of like the things that I've read, and they do need their sleep. But also these were typically things that were issues on the weekend as well. And I think that's just where it's hard.
Well, the assumption there is that you, as the parent who's taking care of the children, don't need that rest.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which is not true.
What was, you just sent me that commercial?
Yeah. It was a mock interview, and maybe you can link it. It was
I'm gonna try to find it.
I don't think it's recent, but it's just been floated again. It's somebody interviewing multiple different candidates on like Zoom, and he's laying out these ridiculous job requirements, and they're kind of confused as to how it's fair or legal that he can ask for these things. But long story short, he was describing the basic expectations of being a stay-at-home mom.
Yeah.
And it was like, 165 hours a week to 24 hours a day.
No breaks.
No sleep, no breaks. The position is unpaid.
Yeah.
You'll receive amazing amounts of appreciation and love from your associate, which is what they called the children. And, the people are rightfully reacting, the interviewees are rightfully reacting as though this is a ridiculous offer and who would do it. And he was, at the end, I'm giving the whole thing away, but he's like, what if I told you somebody holds this position now? What if I told you millions of people hold this position? And then he revealed that it's the job requirements for the mother. But same thing. So like to your point of, working parent needs to nap to save up rest for their job. Sure, that could be true. But if we're saying that and using it as a defense to not put in effort and share the equal burden of childcare, we're discounting the parent who does pay more attention to the kids, or is rather on the other side of that agreement, as we previously discussed.
Yeah. And just so like our scenario, Nick works a 9 to 5. He typically works from home. Sometimes he has to travel. Like last week he was gone like
3 days, 3.5 days,
Tuesday morning through Thursday evening. So I work from home as well. And we have a nanny who comes 3 days a week, usually. Sometimes we talk on a fourth, but usually 3 days a week for 3 hours each day. So that's 9 hours. And then maybe I have a total during the week, like 15 hours to work, like if I include like their nap times. And then I'm with them on Mondays and Fridays all day. And just another reason why you're an anomaly. And again, I think it's just because I know people who are like this, but like because I make less money than you, I typically am like, okay, and I work for myself. I'm like, I am less important, and you have never once made me feel like I'm less important or that what I do is not important.
This is something that you think about you.
Yes,
this is
yes,
not something
I know,
that
but
has
I
been
know
said.
other people who act upon that, the other person.
Yeah.
And yes, I do feel that way about myself, but I think that goes into a me issue that we can talk about another time.
I mean, you were bringing it up with respect to yourself. I'm just clarifying this isn't something that's been said.
No. And you're also very, like, the time that we have with the nanny is, like, the time that I can do whatever I want. And you're like, yeah, if you need to take a nap, take a nap. And, like, again, no one's telling me I can't take a nap, but, like, he encourages me to take a nap, which I think is a step further. Like, if that's what I need to do at the time, it's my time to do it. Sometimes I'm working. Sometimes I'm baking. Sometimes I'm cooking, or I'm, like, finding birthday presents for people or whatever, going to a chiropractor appointment, that type of thing. So it's, like, my time that I can do what I want to do with it. And, like, with that, I wanted to say, and I'll try to find the article. It's not, like, a new news story, but, like you mentioned, a lot of families, both parents are working these days, but unfortunately, a lot of the mental load that was traditionally with the female is still with the female, even with the work. And it just makes it like so hard. But again, it's a lot of, I think, how our brains are wired, but it's just so interesting because the society's like gender roles and like what we're supposed to do within the house have stayed the same, which makes it incredibly hard. And then also I wanted to say, I've talked about them before. I don't remember if they're still doing pre-orders right now, but our friend created this basically a wall calendar for families called Hearth.
Yeah.
And I'll link them again. But it's supposed to combat that.
Well, it helps to visualize and
correct.
force the sharing
Yeah,
of
because it's not that Nick
parenting.
won't do the birthday present or whatever. He may not know, and like that just increases
or am
visibility.
not thinking about it as early as you
Yeah.
are. But yeah, like back to the distribution of the workload thing. Like, in my opinion, if you're in a partnership, especially if you're in a partnership where you've brought kids into the world or adopted, or you have kids in your family, like the amount of money one person makes compared to the other is inconsequential. Like, to me, your family brings in a certain amount of money to help you sustain your family and do other things you want to do for fun. So it would be, in my opinion, prideful, selfish, and unfair for me or anyone who's making more money to hold that over their partner's head, especially as a defense of saying you need to spend more time with the kids, or I need to chill while you take them to the dentist or whatever else. Like it just seems logically and objectively ridiculous to me.
Yeah, I think where it's not is just like when people have to make the decision of paying for childcare versus going to work. And if I know you're not saying this, I'm just clarifying for those listening. Like,
Finish your thought.
That's a different scenario. If like, let's say I worked a 9 to 5, but like out of the home, and it didn't pay enough to cover childcare, so it wasn't.
Oh yeah,
more than that.
yeah,
That's
yeah,
just
yeah.
like a little.
No,
bit
I
different
agree.
scenario.
That's a good clarification. I think that's a different thing. That to me is a smart financial decision. So it's not. I'm not saying don't be aware of the differences in income and how that may affect your budget, and whether childcare makes more sense for you or having somebody stay home makes more sense for you. That's not my point, and that's a good clarification. I'm saying if the person who's making more money is using that as a defense to not put in their effort when they're able to,
Yeah.
I think that's not fair.
a cop out. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
In accordance to Father's Day, we have some guests here with us right now, but we wanted to talk about our favorite Primely Pure Father's Day products.
Yeah, that's a pen.
Our favorite products that Nick likes to use, which is the beard oil you like.
And the everything
The
spray.
Everything spray is great to spray after he shaves.
And their deodorant is
Yeah,
awesome.
the charcoal deodorant is great. Nick likes that. Also, my dad and my brother-in-law like to use the unscented deodorant. It's great for like hunting, so like the animal doesn't smell you. So lots of great options.
Yeah.
Lots of great options.
Use our code.
Oh, you want me to?
Use our code.
Use our code BGMAD. For
BGMAD.
10% off your order for Father's Day and for anytime you want to use the order.
Yeah,
Use
go
the
get
code,
them.
I mean.
Primally Pure, great products.
And talk to you later.
Bye.
So something that we talked about is something to like help with basically what I said at the beginning about like, quote, men having more fun parenting. Something that you can do is like offer to do the work thing instead of the fun thing, or at least give an option. So like for us, that means like, okay, would you rather take the twins upstairs and help like, get them ready to put them down for the nap? Or would you rather make the milk to bring up to them to like have before the nap? Because one, you get to be with them, but if you're overstimulated or you've been with them a lot and you're overstimulated from that, making the milk gives you a little bit of a reprieve and someone else kind of wrangles them.
Also, it's just a pin there. It's okay to pick the I'm not with the kids option.
Yeah,
And
that's
you're
why
not
we offer it, is because
Well, I know, but I'm saying like you're not a bad parent
No.
if you're deciding like I do need that moment.
No, what your mental health and your health like matters too, and that's how you're able
Yeah.
to be a good parent.
Well, we did some of this yesterday, right? Like you came home from your appointment. You knew that I was with them and was cooking,
Yeah.
which I was happy to do. You offered like one of
You
us
told me
offered-
to take Dino out, our dog, and I was like, no, you need to take Dino out. You've
Yeah.
been with them, and you're cooking right now. You need a break, and you need to go outside and you need to get fresh air.
Yeah.
So like you can also like see that, like be on the lookout for that. So that's an easy way you
Yeah,
can
see
help.
the signs of your partner. The choice thing you talked about,
Yeah.
it's like a big parallel to offering choices to your kids when
Yeah.
they don't want to do stuff.
Yeah.
Like you can either brush your teeth or do this, but both options need to happen.
Yeah.
And, they're both productive. Or like you can either clean up or help mom sweep or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And another thing, I feel like it's okay to have your preferences of like what you like to do and like get to know each other's preferences in regard to taking care of the kids. Early on, I would much rather change a diaper than put them in their car seat. And so when we would go on road trips and stuff like that, Nick would usually get them out / put them in their car seat, and I would change their diaper in the back, and that's what worked for us. And it was perfect because we both like got to do what we wanted to do.
Yeah, and while I have no problem changing a diaper, I do like buckling them into their car seats.
Yeah, and I was like, they were so little and squirmy. I was like, I would rather not do this. I feel like I'm doing something wrong. Oh, this is kind of a section what we're going into next is just like co-parenting. And what I wrote down, well, Nick wanted to talk about co-parenting, that both parents should parent and know how to parent, know what to do, know when they eat, know what they should eat type of thing, even if you're not the quote default parent.
Did we already talk about that? Or did you and I privately talk about it?
You and I privately talk about it, and where we're going with this is you said if the other parent is trying to help, so the non-default parent, if they're trying to help, do not get mad at them with questions that they should, quote, know the answer to.
Yeah. So there's two sides to this. You're kind of saying, and I'm going to unpack a bit. So, like, I do understand the frustration as the default parent if when help is being offered to you, the person doesn't know what to do, and they're showering you with questions about how to take care of their own kids. I do understand that frustration. Let's put a pin in that and say, that's not cool. I get why it's frustrating. If you're not the default parent, you should understand how to raise your own kids, right? Like, to our earlier point, if your husband or wife is going out to do something fun for themselves, you should be able to take care of the kids while they're gone, right? Regardless of your distribution of childcare responsibilities, whatever that agreement is for you, I do believe it's a preference for me, and that's my thought. But like, I think we should be able to, as partners, take care of our children. So baseline set aside, if you are the default parent, or whatever other term we want to use that I like better because I don't like default parent.
Primary caretaker?
Sure, that's way better. If that's you, you're going to know more things about what your kids need than the other parent. Not because of lack of effort. You may have the best support system in that other partner, and you're just around them more and have different preferences. So give grace. If you have a partner that is giving you the time and can take care of the kids, and they have a question, the questions inherently don't mean they're stupid, wrong, less attentive, less caring, not trying to help, right? I understand how we can fall into that pattern, but just use your context clues. Like if you're the parent who it's surprising when your partner comes up to you and is asking to help and then also has 10 other questions about how to do it, I get how that's frustrating. I would argue that's probably not your situation, right?
Yeah. So to give a specific example that you actually gave whenever we were making this outline is there were times where you would say, let me take over. I'm going to do this. I'll feed them. Yeah. And then you would turn around and say, okay, what should they have for dinner? Don't comment yet. I'm gonna. Can I go from my side first? Or do you
I don't think I phrased it that way. But
okay, you want to say how you phrased it?
Well, what I usually said was, what were you thinking they'll have for dinner? Yeah.
Yeah. So for me, and I would get frustrated.
Yep.
For me, if you're gonna take over, you are taking over all aspects of the load, including the mental load of figuring out and thinking what they're having for dinner. So while I can see from your perspective of, okay, you not that I care more, but I've kind of constructed like what they, they're not having chocolate till they're over 2 and things like that are all things based on like what I researched and you are in agreement with. I can see how you would think that I would have an answer, but sometimes I didn't and I hadn't gotten there yet. And I kind of just like open up the fridge or the cabinet and see what speaks to me. Like, I don't know what they're eating for lunch today or dinner. I haven't thought about it yet. By asking me the question of what were you thinking they are having, you were handing the load back to me and it didn't feel helpful. It was like, I should just do it at this point because I'm going to have to figure out what it is. And like figuring it out and making it is half of the battle. Like eating it, they pretty much do by themselves. And so that's why I got frustrated to where I can totally see it from your side, but the frustration from my side, that kind of explains it.
I get it. So the frustration on your side that you just described carries with it a lot of assumptions. The assumptions are that I'm not trying to do it on my own, that I can't do it on my own, right?
No.
You kind of have to have those assumptions to go down the path of, oh, he's passing the burden back to me and he's not trying.
I don't think it's on purpose. I think that you're genuinely asking me because I quote, care more or have ideas about that. But if you're telling me, hey, I want to take the burden from you, that is part of the burden.
And this is why we recently talked about it. So that is not what I mean when I'm asking you that question.
I'm just telling you that's
the frustration. But we need to
rehab
this conversation for everybody else listening.
Yeah.
What I'm actually asking is, hey, I realize you're passing me the baton. What else is part of the baton? If you've prepared potatoes earlier, you have Tupperware of leftover stuff from the night before that I didn't know we had enough to keep. You might have some thoughts that you've already prepared without knowing that I was going to step in to feed the kids, that something's ready, right?
Yeah.
So to me, passing the baton to me to feed the kids, it carries with it the same answers. Like, it's not a ridiculous question for me to think like, hey, have you already thought about this? And also, the answer, I'm not sure, is 100% acceptable. If I say, hey, have you thought of what they're going to have for dinner? And you say, oh, no, I haven't thought about it, or no, I shouldn't have to continue asking you questions. I can take that and say, okay, got it. No worries.
Yeah.
I'll go make mac and cheese. I'll go make whatever else, right? Like, maybe that's something you need to know. Me asking you the question is not expecting that you do have an answer. It's understanding, okay, I'm picking up the baton. Give me the full baton so I can go, right?
Yeah.
Because the alternative is, maybe you've prepared half of their dinner. I have no idea. And then I tell you, hey, let me feed the kids, and you go into the living room. I'm afraid to ask you the question. And then I make a completely different thing, and now we have wasted food. Like, I say this to you sometimes, right? Sometimes a question is just a question. I'm not telling you, like, hey, keep carrying the burden of feeding the kids. I'm telling you, hey, pass me what you've done so I can take it from there. You see what I mean? And like, to our earlier point, there has to be a baseline of you knowing that I can feed them, I can take care of them. I don't have to have you there and fully present with me. You can be doing something else and they'll be completely safe and fine. Like, I think those pieces have to exist in your head, or the default parent, the primary caretaker parent's head, to allow them mental space to give that grace. But my challenge is, like, hey, not primary caretakers, you should know how to take care of your kids. Baseline number one. Hey, primary caretakers, give grace when you're getting questions. You probably know more, and you probably have more context. Not because you're a better parent, but because the agreement you guys have set means that you're spending more time or doing more things with the kids, you know? So it's okay if Nick says, hey, were you thinking about what they're going to have for lunch?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. No, I get it.
Is that what you wanted me to rehash?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I kind of wanted to go with this, like, same topic into kind of like kids, as far as like, there's the same topic we talked about. So girl toys versus boy toys. And I'm bringing this up because I saw a post the other day that was like, I bought this kitchen set, like, for my nephew, and they asked me to return it because it's not a boy toy. And I'm upset because, my kids of both genders play with the kitchen, and, like, they love it. And I was like, yeah, I agree with them. Like, we have a kitchen. Cypress loves to play with it, but also we both cook. Nick cooks, and in American culture, perhaps it's usually the female in most households, but in other cultures, it's the men who cook. So it's not. I think it's a very, like, westernized thing of, like, just like the females, and so we really do try to. It's kind of Montessori. I'm reading / listening to a Montessori toddler book right now, and a lot of, like, gentle parenting and stuff from that, which we do practice, kind of has roots in Montessori style, but you're, like, just basically follow the child's interest. And so where I was going to go with this is that we play with the kids sometimes in, like, the toy aisles of, like, a Walmart or Target, and we recently just did this.
Hack.
Yeah. And, like, we've...
And listen, Target, Walmart, sometimes we buy toys. The point here is not to steal. I'm just saying.
Not stealing.
We do some
put
trying
the toys
out.
Back. We
without
look and
breaking
see,
anything, of course.
Yeah, we look and see, like, what they're interested in, and it's really fun for them too. And when Nick and I were talking about this, he was like, yeah, and we spend, like, equal amount of time, like, in the Barbie aisle, in, like, the dinosaur aisle, whatever.
And not really intentionally,
No.
we kind of just cycle through them. But the point is, like, we don't get to the Barbie aisle and then think, oh, Cypress, you're going to go somewhere else.
No, and, like, what I was thinking about this was, like, my dad would play Barbie with me and my sisters, and, like, he's a guy, but also something fun that my dad would do is when he would play with us, he would, like, act out real life scenarios with the Barbie. So, like, Ken would come over and to take Barbie on the date, and he would go up to the door and not just, like, honk the horn and, like, have Barbie come out, or, like, just teaching, like, real life scenarios with that in, like, a fun play that, like, we were receptive to at the time. Another thing I thought about with this is in kindergarten, I vividly remember, they had those dots that they put in a circle, like to make sure the kids sit in a circle. And they were like neon colors. So yellow, orange, pink, green, and like you could sit on yours, and I would go to the lime green one. And I was like, yeah, because lime green's my favorite color. And I remember, I think it was a girl, was like, you can't like green, you're a girl, you have to like pink. And like from then on, I was like, okay, I like pink. And first of all, that's just like how important like words are to kids. Like I still remember this, I'll be 32 this year, and I do like pink, but my favorite color is still green. And like that's okay that my favorite color is still green. And actually, so my background is apparel merchandising, so I've done fashion history, and that's just a genuine interest of mine. And pink actually used to be the boy color, like in hospitals and stuff when they would
also
wrap up
in
the
royal families, there was a lot of pink as well.
Yeah, so pink is the derivative of red, which is considered the more masculine color, and blue/purple are like the more feminine color in that time. And now that's swapped, which is just society and like what society is feeding us. So pink used to be the boy color.
You made me think of Miss Rachel when you said red, yellow, orange, green. Shout out Miss Rachel.
Blue, indigo,
Violet.
I love a rainbow. Okay. Anyway. Also, I was recently, just on that kind of same vein, but not toys, I was recently at something that I'm not going to give away where I was. And we were talking about, it was a female event. And none of the people I was with were parents, but somehow we got on to like girls are smart and boys are dumb, essentially. And they were talking about kids that they knew, and it's like, yeah, the girl could like speak in full sentences basically by 2, and the boy was like, this is my trick, I can put my head on the bed or something like that. And I just kind of sat quietly. It really wasn't an appropriate time for me to speak, but I'm just like, that is just not the case. I mean, I'm like for girl power, but like in our case, a lot of the things that they were saying as far as milestones, like, were opposite for us. And, like, I think both Cypress and Olive are smart. My whole reason of saying this is, like, whenever I had the dream to start Boy, Girl, Mom, like, it was never about, like, this is better or this is worse, like, boys versus girls type of thing. It's, like, they're different, and let's lean into those differences and, like, nourish them. And that, yeah, I don't want to, like, create a battle of, like, boys versus girls.
And maybe also, to your point, not stifle them.
Yeah.
Right? There's no reason why I want Cypress to cook. Would love for him to cook us meals one day, just like Olive. Like, why do we need to restrict his interest in a play kitchen?
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
I think that's all. I think that's all we have for today.
I think so. Yeah.
Good episode.
Yeah.
Thanks for hanging with us. Thanks for listening. If you liked this, please give us a rating or a thumbs up if you're watching on YouTube. You can subscribe to our newsletter. It goes out every Wednesday morning at 6 a.m. PST.
By carrier pigeon. We're classy.
Yeah. And I will put that in the show notes where you know how to do that. You can follow us on Instagram, boygirlmom.com, boygirlmom.com, and check us out on our website, boygirlmom.com.
Go hang out with your kids. Or go offer the other parent some time and you hang out with the kids.
Or if you're just learning and you're not a parent yet, go offer your parent friend a reprieve. Tell them to go take a walk.
Yes. Do that.
Yeah.
We've been offered that so many times. We're really bad at accepting those offers.
Yeah.
Take advantage of them.
Take advantage.
Your friends want to hang out with your kids.
Yes, they do.
And they want to help serve you.
Yep. Thank you for listening. Thanks for going with us.
Bye.
Bye.
Boy, girl, mom, and dad. Gotta wash those butts together. It's a trip, but we'll guide you through with tips and tricks for boys and girls too.